SJT. No secrets, just truth. Jezreel Emil Kavan. I think all of us kind of hide who we are. I think we build a wall so that most cannot get through. It's a mode of self-protection. It is a way for us to stand back and look at the world through what I call the one-way mirror. It is hard to get to know someone because life moves quickly. No matter who we hang out with, no matter who we love, no matter the person in our lives that we are reaching and seeking to get to know, we will never know everything. There are 365 days in a year, 366 in a leap year. And you add that to the life that you have lived and the amount of years you have been on this earth, and you realize that you cannot know someone deeply. By the time they begin to tell you their story, they have to still deal with the ongoing story of their life. Many people judge, but do not reflect that judgment upon themselves and look deep inside at who they are. They're too busy judging someone else for their faults, what they perceive as imperfections. We all have imperfections. All I seek to do is magnify the ability to see clearly and hear clearly. I speak so that many can listen and understand that life is not easy. We were never promised the perfect family. We was never promised a good relationship. We was never promised to be married or have children. We came upon this earth to do what God asked us to do. Live life to the fullest, love one another, inspire and shape the world. He gave us dominion over ourselves and dominion over the animals. For some, that is not enough. For some, they hurt others because they hurt. For some, they refuse to reach out for help. Reach out for the love of another. Afraid that they will be hurt again. Afraid their heart will be broken again. Time and time again, I heard that as a reason not to trust anyone. So I come before you and say that I do not ask for trust, I ask for faith. Something that is far different than trust. Because God said, trust no man but him. Yes, it hurts to look out into the world and see the decay of our society, to see the decay of our communities, to see the low self-esteem of our children, to know that they have been affected and corrupted by life itself, and this world hurts. To know that all of them will have the chance to be successful. To know that for some they have hidden stories of abuse, hidden stories of being molested, being raped, hidden stories of watching their parents drink and do drugs. To know that they live in a community in which it will be rare for them to be free. Free to enjoy what it's like in the rest of the world. This journey of life comes with so much. Most of it is burden. some of it is blessings. I know many will say that it is not their position to stand in the gap, to protect, because they're so busy protecting themselves and their own families. But I say to you that what is done to another will be done to you. Karma is real. It is up to us to become who we are. It is up to us to shape the definition of who we are. It is up to us to define our name. It is up to us to choose which path we will walk down. The theory of oppression is if I oppress you for so long, you will begin to oppress yourself. I learned that growing up in the ghetto, in my own community, watching so many give their lives over to the danger of the streets, giving their lives over to the ignorance of society, refusing to educate themselves about reality, about faith, about ethics. I have watched families be destroyed. I have watched people destroy themselves. It is simple why I do what I do. It is because the older generations believe that the younger generation has no desire to know God, but that is not true. The older generation believes that we do not worship an awesome God because we don't go to church. But I'm here to tell you that we worship an awesome God, that we are not divided amongst ourselves, but we are united because of the things that we have gone through. Because we share our stories, we realize how identical our life is. There are some of us that will fight until their very last breath to hold their families together, to stand with their families. There are the special ones too, the ones who open their heart to the rest of the world. Some will call them naive, others will call them fools, but God calls them the angels of the earth because they're willing to open their heart to strangers, to the lost, to the lonely, to the hungry, to the thirsty, to those who have been scorned by their own communities, scorned by their own families and friends. Many will sit here and say that they are good people. But how can you be good if you deny others? When you refuse to stand up for what is right? When you gossip about other people's situations instead of offering a hand to help them rebuild their lives, help them reshape their future, help them lead to destiny. We are one people, one nation, if we are believers of God. We must know that we must travel together like the Israelites did with Moses. They came together as one people and they took the journey together to the promised land. Yes, not all of them were righteous. Not all of them believed in God. But they had the courage to take the journey. They had the courage to follow those who believed with all their heart the power of God is greater than the power of man. I say to you, do not take silence as weakness. Sometimes silence is the most powerful thing in the world. Many will say that God has gone silent because of the violence all across the world, because of the stories of the children and the adults who have lived in this world. But I tell you that you share the same story as your ancestors. And just as history tells us, there has been few who have taken the calling seriously and stood for what is right, stood for justice, stood for righteousness. They spoke out against the tyranny of those who sit in power and allow the rest of us to live in chaos. Speaking against the rich who feast and have more than enough, and watch those who have nothing starve and wither away. I say unto you, surely, whatever you do unto others will be done unto you. My message is simple. Live by the truth. Speak the truth. Do not just speak of the word, but help shape and mold it into a living entity. Remember that God is by your side whether you make mistakes or not. Remember, God is not ashamed nor embarrassed of you, but He is your number one defender. He is your lawyer in the court of justice. He is your doctor. He is your provider. He is the essence of your soul. He sees all and He knows all. God says, I am a searcher of heart and mind, which means that we must remember who we are. We must stand for who we are. We must protect this nation, this great nation of God. By His authority, we can do so much. By His authority, we can change so many lives. By the gifts that He has given us, we can create a future that is far better than the past. I know that there are moments where you doubt yourself. There have been times in my life that I have doubted myself. And in those moments, I pick myself up. I stand before the mirror and I say to myself, do not be afraid. Do not give up. For if I fall, if I refuse to do God's will, if I refuse to be who I am, someone out there will lose their life. Someone out there will not hear the message that I have to bring or the love that I offer. We're all heroes, sent to help, sent to save, sent to change what reality appears to be. I say to you that we live under a great delusion, that our cell phones and computers and TVs and the movies and clubs and all these other things, these superficial things, are important when they're not. Not one of those things will help you when you go through the crisis you face. Not one of those things will help you through the storms of life. Not one of those things will help you stand and become a greater person. If you measure yourself by what wealth you have, then you are poor in spirit, lost in the wilderness, lost to those who are here to bless you and love you for who you are. For those who have two faces, the hypocrites, the ones who pretend that they know the word of God and live by the law of God, to those who believe that they are the saints of God and righteous, they do God's will. I say unto you that your true face shall be seen. You will lose all that you have. You will spend your time fighting to hold on, and it will slip away from you. Like a thief in the night, your blessings will be stolen. Like a thief in the night, your treasures will be stolen. Like a thief in the night, your soul will be stolen. What profits a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? Only a foolish man will stand and say he knows all, that he is greater and better, that he is stronger and braver, that he has more courage. We must remember that courage is defined as one who is willing to act against all odds, against all roadblocks, against all fears. To be brave is to stand knowing that death could be imminent, yet we are not afraid. To love means to be able to give someone compassion, to have empathy, to love each and every person in your life the same. Not giving anyone special treatment, but offering them all the love that you have. In this life, we must be the comforters. We must be our brothers and sisters' protectors. We must be the voice in which God uses to save lives. We must save our own life, but not at the cost of others. Not at the cost of giving the devil what he wants. We must be believers in ourselves, in our nation, in our Father, which is God. We must remember that he is first and that he is last. We must remember that we must honor him with everything that we are. That whatever gifts he has given us, that we use them to full capacity. That we doubt not ourselves, nor where we come from. Not just the womb of our mother, but the womb of God. Not just from the seeds of our Father, but the seeds of faith. We must remember that we will continue to grow and evolve. That yes, we will stumble sometimes. Yes, we will fall sometimes. Yes, tears will fall, and yes, we will be embarrassed and ashamed sometimes. But we must remember that we are more powerful when we believe that we can change the next moment, the next day. That in the end of our day, we will be known as the children of the Most High. We will be known as the warriors of faith. We will be known as the keepers of truth. We will be called lovers and dreamers. That we will be called the princes and princesses, kings and queens of this earth. That we are royalty. That in our bloodline is the truth. That we are heroes waiting to save the day. Waiting to fight the enemy head on. We cannot allow the enemy to put fear in our hearts. We cannot allow the enemy to tempt us to stray away from where we're supposed to be going. Like GPS, we must pray for our destination. We must pray that we reach our destiny. For when we type in the GPS, the address of where we're trying to go, we can't deviate and go a different direction because we'll never reach our destination. We must follow the course all the way through. Sometimes the GPS will lead us in a direction where there is heavy traffic and we must wait in line for our blessings. That we got to wait in line before we get to where we're going. Oh yes, I compare life, love, truth to elements of our normal life. Sometimes all it takes is one wrong turn for us to lose our way. Sometimes all it takes is listening to the fools who know not of the future, who know not of themselves, who has no morals, no ethics, no rules to live by in their life. For some who continue the circle of destruction and continue to believe in the theory of oppression. What is the theory of oppression? It's like the slaves. They was oppressed for so long that by the time they was free, they still oppressed themselves. There were some who still refused to learn how to read. There were some who refused to leave the farms. There was them who refused to leave the master's side because they believed that the master was the master of them. Although others yearned to be free, they were caged birds singing for freedom as they traveled the Underground Railroad. This is not the African Americans that can have a story that shares and mirrors the story of the Bible, but it is all races and all communities where they can speak of the road that have been traveled. Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new done underneath the sun that hasn't been done before. Now is the time for us to do something new, to fight in a different way, to begin to speak up in a different way, to stand with strength and purpose, to believe in ourselves, to believe in others, to offer an olive branch to those who've been fighting and warring their whole lives, to offer them peace, to offer them rest, to fill their bellies with goodness. It's never too late to become washed and pure again. It is never too late to change the direction of your life. We must be givers and not takers. Just as God gives us the ability to live and be free, we must allow for the rest of the world, our communities, our neighbors, our friends, our families to be free. We must allow them to have their own opinion. We must allow them to live their own lives. But we must choose the side in which we stand. We can no longer accept the destruction of our society as the future. We can no longer sit on the sidelines and pretend that we do not see what is going on. That as long as it doesn't affect our family, as long as it's not in my neighborhood, as long as it's not happening to me, everything's okay. I say to the older generation, you have caused what you reap now. Cities all across the country has higher murder rates than ever seen before. Higher crimes than ever seen before. Don't blame the youth for sagging their pants. Don't blame the youth for not going to school. Don't blame the youth for the things that they do. It was you who set up this course. It was you who allowed cursing on TV and booty grinding on TV. It was you who allowed society to get to this point. And you remove yourself from the blame when you are to blame for this. In the 50s and the 60s, it was unheard of to see nakedness on TV, unheard of to see the demoralizing nature of what you see today. We have to stand up and take responsibility for what we have done, and it is upon this generation to move forward into a future, not backwards, not listen to the ignorance of a generation that has caused us to come forward into a world of chaos. We are believers. We are heroes. And we must stand as such. Our power is our heart. Our power is our truth. Our power is our strength in ourself. Belief in oneself. Belief in those who love us. Belief in those who defend us. And to those who deny us, they shall be denied themselves. But we have the authority to remain in God's graces as long as we love Him with all our heart, as long as we love ourselves, as long as we continue to preach the message of hope and faith, as long as we continue to preach the message of strength, as long as we're willing to lead the blind, as long as we're willing to be our brothers and sisters' keeper, as long as we are willing to protect the valley of the motherless and the fatherless, as long as we're willing to remember the sacrifices of our ancestors and what they gave for us. But we must believe that we are heroes when we save lives by speaking, by reaching for that brass ring, by desiring to be before the Lord, by answering God's call to do His will. We must remember that we must give to receive. We must bless to be blessed. In God's name, I lay these words before you. NSJT, no secrets, just truth.